Aloha, my name is Alan Tom. I'm the superintendent of the Hawaiian Islands Humpback Whale National Marine Sanctuary. And on behalf of the National Marine Sanctuary Program, I would like to thank the Waikiki Aquarium and our guest speaker, ulumaika, for our first lecture on Na Vai Vai o Kanaloa, which he will be speaking at today. We are so honored to have him. Thank you.
Aloha, I'm Umi ali loa lahana o kalakaua kai. Noho maila I kainiki, aina kaulano ka auhele moa. Ke keiki Douglas kai, waiahinu moko o ke ave, laua o lahela, king o waimea moko o ke ave, e ola. I'm here to talk briefly about Makahiki and some of the interesting features of another akua, Kanaloa. Aloha. What we wanted to discuss this in this segment was Makahiki. Makahiki season is upon us, and actually on October 28th of 2020, the kuapola ceremony will take place. And that kuapola marks the beginning of the Makahiki season, and it dictates what the rest of the year is going to be like. So if you're available, take a look on October 28th. Look up in the skies after sunset. A ceremony will be done at Makapu'u, but that is usually reserved for in Kahiko days, the kahuna and the ali'i. And they would then do a short ceremony at the ahu or a heiau, and wait for makali'i to appear in all of its colorful glory. And the colors would dictate and indicate to the kahuna and the ali'i of what the year is going to be like. Then in the following month, in November, this time in 2020, November 26th, a gathering of the community would occur at the same location, the same ceremony, and the reconfirmation of what they saw in October will be read again. And a plea to the community to do what is necessary depending on what the prediction is for the following year. If there's a prediction because of the colors of makali'i that it's going to have famine, then the ali'i will determine which kind of crops would be planted in order to sustain the community for that famine. It might even involve warfare. In case an ali'i from a gathering, another area would want to come in and take your resources. So it all depends on what the ali'i and the kahuna read in October. So that starts the Makahiki season, and we hope that everybody will join in and take a look at the stars on October 28th. Makahiki, although it's the 4 months of the year, really is a time for a rejuvenation of the land and of the people. And it's a time when the ali'i can revitalize his resources by asking the people in his realm to show him what they have produced in the year, and find out what was successful, what was not successful. And of course, in playing the Hawaiian games, not Makahiki games per se, but Hawaiian games, he would also determine who his best warriors were. So it's a very important time of the year. And with the coming of Makahiki, we would like to make sure that we pay special attention to how Lono is arriving, which would be from the ocean. And that realm is Kanaloa. And from that realm, he also leaves through the ocean. Probably January or February, Lono would be leaving. And that's how Captain Cook got mistaken. He arrived during the time of Makahiki, and with his great white banners, of course, is mistaken as Lono. And so everybody knows that story. Okay. What I wanted to do was to make sure that A lot of people know about Lono and some of the concepts behind the Makahiki. So I wanted to change the focus a little bit and talk about the ocean and the realm of Kanaloa. Kanaloa being the traveling partner of Kane. Kanaloa being the oceans, being the winds that allow sailing to occur. Kane being the kua over the va'a. So they're hand in hand. When they come into land, Kane goes out looking for places that Kanaloa has indicated has water. Okay, because Kane doesn't see the water immediately. Kanaloa comes in, and he is the overseer of the underground waters. So he'll indicate this is an area that we can get fresh water from, so we can start mixing our ava and start to drink ava. Okay? So he'll indicate the location, Kane will come, thrust his o into the ground, and up comes Kane's water. And now it's exposed, so now it's Kane's water. Kanaloa would come in different forms, but primarily he is the akua over all of life in the, primarily most of the life in the oceans, and more specifically to those that stretch, those that are soft. Pahe'e, or an octopus, is one of the main forms of Kanaloa. Jellyfish is another main form of Kanaloa. But again, most of the sea life is still under Kanaloa, as he is the caretaker of the entire ocean. In the southern Polynesian societies, Kanaloa is the first akua. For the Hawaiians, Kane and Kanaloa came first, then followed by Ku and Lono. Right? But Kanaloa reigns the most important in the southern hemisphere of the Polynesian Triangle. I want to turn some of my attention to the wealth, or the vai of Kanaloa, and some of the things that the Hawaiians would have used in kahiko days and continue to use today in order to show their not only appreciation, but to also feed themselves through the whole season. And so I'll go through some of the items that I brought on the table here and tell you what we might use as substitutes if we can't get them anymore. The first item is to call attention, an announcement, and that would be a pu. A pukani is can be either the Triton shell, such as this one, or it can be a helmet shell. The Triton shells come in different, I think there's 2 or 3 different varieties. Some of them are a little more bumpy, but this is the favorite of everyone's. And it calls the attention to the populace. It calls the attention of the powers that are greater than us, and announces. And it's very important for the Hawaiians as well as all other Polynesians. We also have items. Now in other Polynesian societies, because Kanaloa is the highest ranking akua, they refrain from catching octopus. Hawaiians caught octopus for consumption. This is a luhe'e. Luhe'e was used as an octopus lure. Consists of a lehu shell, a stone that resembles the lehu shell as closely as possible, and the hook. This tail here is a stabilizer, as well as creates some dust or ruckus to attract the attention of the octopus or the he'e. The cordage would come from here and go straight up to the canoe, maybe 30 feet, 35 feet of water in olden days out of a canoe. Today they can go deeper because they have electric winches. They would drop this luhe'e down on the bottom of the ocean as they're drifting and bob it up and down. 2 reasons. One is to attract attention, and secondly, to get used to the weight. Because oahu, this stone is pretty heavy. So they're getting used to the weight. The fisherman is And once he feels extra weight, he'll yank onto the leho, and the octopus gets impaled here on the hook, and he brings him up if he's fast enough. Because the octopus, if you give him any slack, the octopus will come off. So you have to pull quickly to keep that tension on them. So again, luhe, very valuable. Still used today, instead of a pohaku, they would be using lead. And they still use leho for most of them, but they've been using an orange ball on the top. Because this brown leho here, normally, before I use it, I would put it over a fire or a stove and lightly go over and heat it up. As it's heating, it turns orange. So this one is not ready to use until it gets orange. Catching fish with a lure was done by making a lure out of the pa shell. And the pa shell is mother of pearl. So this is a pahiaku, a bonito, a lure that they would trail behind their canoe. It's made from the mother of pearl shell. You can see that I drew in, this is a large one, I drew in some of the designs to make another pahiaku. You need this hinge here in order to create that thickness. Otherwise, there won't be anything for you to put your base on. Okay, the point is of bone, and the hair back here stabilizes it. This is boar's hair off of the back of the neck, and if you didn't have that on there, it would swirl. But with this, the hair back there, it stabilizes it. It'll just wiggle, which is what you want. Looks like a wounded fish. Another item that comes out of the ocean that was very highly prized by the Hawaiians were, especially the ali'i, was the le niho plaua, or the niho of the plaua. Plaua referring to sperm whale. And most whales don't have teeth, they have baleen. But the sperm whale was highly prized for its teeth. Today we can't use that because of regulations. So when I'm asked to create one, I use deer horn. Not that I go out and cut the deer horns off just for the horn, but when anybody harvests a deer for consumption, they'll ask for the antlers. And so this would be a replica of a le niho plaua. Other items that come off of the ocean would go into weaponry or into utility tools. This is a utility knife. It's called a niho oki. Niho oki is used for cutting designs into your ipu. You see those nicely designed and intricate designed ipus. You cut the designs in it with the knife, and then you soak it in the lo'i, or the reverse way would be to put mud on the inside so that the reactions occur the opposite direction. If you wanted to cut down or strip your wauke to make kapa, you would cut it down with this. If you wanted to cut grooves into your ie kuku for making your kapa, you would do that as well. Carving wood for cutting open a fish, or for shaving. Very useful utility knife. A lot of people think it's a weapon, but anything can be a weapon, right? Your hand, a stone, a stick, but this primarily is used as a utility knife. Adding more teeth into a implement or a handle would now become a weapon. Hawaiians didn't really go hunting as much as it was. These are made for warfare. Okay, this is pu'ule niho with 8 tiger shark teeth. Tiger sharks were highly prized for its spiritual connotation. The man-eater, along with the great white man-eater. So they would want to include that man-eating spirit into a weapon. Now, it's also because their teeth are very, very sharp. On a tiger shark and a great white, both top and bottom jaws have the same type of teeth. On the white tips and black tips and other reef sharks, the top are a little more triangular and the bottoms are pointed. The pointed to grab and the triangular to rip. So with the tiger and the great white having both same type of teeth for ripping, you get more teeth out of the one jaw. But again, they're the man-eaters, so you want that connotation into your weapon. This would be more of a kahiko design, straight, long handle held here for two, one for slashing, one for stabbing. This would be a smaller version of a leomano with tiger shark teeth. Now, how did they get the tigers? How did they get the sharks completely? A kiholo. Kiholo is a shark hook. This one, why is it all curvy? All right, that's because this is a replica of the Manaya hook at the Bishop Museum. Manaya is said to be Maui's hook, that he fished up the islands. He was a navigator. So if you envision him navigating a canoe and the islands rising up as he's coming closer, he fished it up, right? But theoretically, this was his hook, and it's a kiholo, a shark hook made out of wood and bone tip and a very nice weaving as the snood for the cordage. Other types of material that come out of the ocean would include nukus, or bills. This one happens to be a bill off of a marlin, and if you were here with me, you could touch it and feel the roughness of that bill. This would be another sizing of that bill. That bill is a nuku a'u. It's off of a marlin being a'u. This bill, much larger and longer and not as rough. It's very smooth. And this would be coming off of a broadbill swordfish. Okay. But both nuku again, just meaning bill, can be a bird bill too. Okay. So when I fashion this nuku into a weapon, this is what it would look like. And now the name changes. This is a pahikawa, war knife. Knife kawa, war knife. And if I was to make a finished product out of the a'u, then this would become a pahoa a'u versus the pahikawa. This one happens to be a very large marlin bill. You don't get them this large too often because the fishermen like to keep them as trophies. But it would be bludgeoning as well as stabbing. It was stated in one account that Captain Cook was stabbed, not necessarily killed, but stabbed by a young Hawaiian warrior wielding a fish bill dagger. We're not sure if it was a marlin fish bill or the swordfish bill. But the museum, Bishop Museum, has a old bill that is recorded as being the bill that stabbed Captain Cook. Again, not necessarily killed him, but he got stabbed by it. Because the other account says that Captain Cook was stabbed with a metal dagger. So who knows, right? So the realm of Kanaloa is vast as the ocean. And that's very vast. And these are the types of fish hooks the Hawaiians would have used in order to capture those delicacies in the ocean. These are made out of bone and shell, and again, using substitutes as much as possible. Today, I use cow bone instead of what used to be used. And it could have been out of whale bone, could have been out of human bone, could have been pig bone. But pig bone is relatively small. So the beef bone is a very, very good substitute because of its strength and its size. Going back to the va'a, or the canoe, one aspect that people overlook when talking about the Hawaiian culture is aha, or cordage. And without cordage, the Hawaiians couldn't have sailed. They needed the cordage to lash their parts of their canoe together. Once landing, they needed cordage to tighten down their homes. They needed cordage to fish with. Cordage was very, very important. And hopefully more people will get interested enough to start making cordage again. This cordage came from Micronesia, from Papamau's village actually. And so we're hoping that more people will get involved and start making cordage. It's not real easy. It's pretty difficult and takes a lot of discipline. And for that reason, a lot of the people in his village are not making them anymore, so it's getting harder to find in good quality. We need to emphasize quality as much as quantity. Fish traps is another means of catching i'a, or fish. This one happens to be a fashioned fish trap, a little small just for convenience of taking it around with me. My wife made it, she was a weaver, and it's for hinalea. And you would secure this between the papa or the coral so it wouldn't topple over. You would put bait in the middle and tie it onto the sticks that secure the trap to the pohaku. The fish go in through the top and for some reason don't find their way out. I guess they don't look up. But very effective. This is made out of ie, a very good weaving material found in the mountainsides. What would the Hawaiians keep their fish hooks in? They would keep it in a hina'i. This kind of basket or a wooden basket is something they would keep all of their hooks in. They don't wear them like I'm wearing mine today. In Kahiko, it would be too valuable, and as a provider of food, it's too hard to make. So you wouldn't be wearing it. Today you'll wear it as a symbol and an appreciation for the past. So this would be sitting right next to the fishermen as they're sleeping. Okay? They want to make sure that these are kept safe. And if it's made out of a wooden bowl with a gourd top, that is in case it goes overboard in their canoe, it'll float so they don't lose their hooks. Okay. I think that about covers everything that I've brought and a few of the comments that I've had, keeping in mind that Makahiki is more than just fun and games. It's more than, it's also appreciation for the oceans. Mahalo.